great. So please give our lovely panel a big round of applause.
Thanks, James, for the intro. And thanks, everyone here for joining us at the App Store Marketing Hot Topics. I'm joined by three really awesome people. And yeah, I don't need to introduce myself as James already did that. So actually, Ryan, Kwok, Lena, please feel free to introduce yourself to our audience, and then we can get started with the hot topics of App Store marketing. Ryan, feel free to go.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm Ryan. I'm a freelance marketing consultant based in Berlin. I help startups acquire and retain users.
Yes, I'm Kwok. I'm in charge of ASO at Omio, a travel app, where you can search, compare, and book train, bus, flight tickets. And beyond ASO, I also work on converting web users to app users because they are more retainable.
And I'm Lena. I'm a senior app marketing manager at a company called Spark Networks. And I'm also currently leading a small but very mighty team of 2 people, one ASO manager and one paid user acquisition manager. And Spark Networks is a company that's based in Berlin, and it has 12 dating app brands. Most of them are subscription-based apps, and also niche dating app brands, namely religious dating or 50+ dating, but some of them also cater to the broader audience. And with the company, I've been with the company for 2 years, almost 2 years now, and in digital marketing since 2014, so that would be 6 years already.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. I'm joined by really, really cool people, so I'm super excited to get this started. So for everyone here who has been in App Promotion Summit last year we were talking about what worked and what didn't work in 2019. But what we wanted to talk about this time around is actually our wish list for 2021, because who here wants to talk further about 2020? At least not me. So let's focus on what we can do in 2021. And to that sense, we were thinking to discuss like what we app marketers, what we would like to have, what we would like to change if the stores and channels are listening. So let's see what our predictions will be. And I'm very, very happy to be joining with veterans here. So I'll get this started. So this year, I think you would agree with me that a lot has happened with Apple, right? A lot has happened in iTunes Connect. I think even just 3 or 4 days ago, a new console view has been released, right? Like, have you seen that, everyone? Like, how do you feel about it? Is there any thoughts that already came into your mind when you saw this?
So I was less than overwhelmed. You know, to be honest with you, I don't rely so much on app analytics. I use a ton of third-party tools and the integration, and I think I lean more on the integration. So there are very few things that I was really able to take from the update. The biggest thing is actually the internal beta testing.
Yeah, I also don't work a lot with app analytics directly, but with other tools, and because they are working better for me and visually more pleasing. But I've looked into it, and as always with changes, we have to get used to it, I guess. But over time, will get familiar to us, and then we will just get used to it until another change comes, and then we get annoyed again. So for the time being, it will be fine, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree with Kwok here. Never-ending changes, especially, and Christine, like you mentioned, in 2020 on the Apple side too. But yes, let's see where it leads us in 2021.
True. And speaking of changes, like there's the app transparency framework that is coming, really mandatory soon. I'm curious to hear, like, have you tested this already? And if you have tested this, is there something that you could share, maybe?
We're working with, I can say from my end and from the Spark Networks perspective, that we're working more probably on the paid acquisition side with the app transparency framework, because obviously it's like a huge limitation, the lack of IDFA and working with user consent. So luckily, since Apple has given us a bit of time, there is more room to test, but yeah, there's definitely work in progress. We are partnering with the MMP that we're using, which is Adjust, so relying on the solutions that they have available and on some improved accuracy with different attribution types. So yes, working with them and also working on finding the silver bullet with the user consent pop-up too.
I'm not doing too much right now, just because this is such a big time for all my clients. But come January, I'll be using in-app messages to test screens to see what the conversion is, and testing messages. And I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I've also been looking everywhere and listening for what people are doing. I've heard people talk about these really advanced, like, cognitive modeling platforms and building this custom CMP and measuring. I don't think I'm going to attempt to do anything like that, but I would like to test different modals or modal views to see what the conversion is, and also just testing what sounds like the only part of the text that you can actually change, which is the small text. So just seeing like what happens.
Yeah, and I don't work on it either, but I will help our product team to come up with messaging ideas so that they can test and get the best conversion rate out of it.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, I think it's such a big change in how the App Store listing will look like when this is finally rolled out. I personally would love to have a view to see how the responses correlate to the conversion rates when install, because then we'd really know how to really improve that screen further. That would be amazing. I mean, like, that's my wish list for 2021. But I think, like, we have a common topic here, and I want to dig a little bit deeper in that. Like, everyone here has talked about testing on Apple, which, as we all know, is not yet possible. Ryan, maybe you give me some thoughts on what you think testing could look like for Apple for 2021, or do you predict anything will come, or what is it that you would wish to Apple to improve on iTunes Connect if it were up to you?
Well, actually, like, my wish would be to have some kind of native in-app messaging platform, or some way of being able to communicate with users a little bit better, for whether that's for customer service or lots of things. But also like testing, I think would be really interesting, just to be able to have that. But at the speed with which Apple releases new features and updates, I don't ever see them doing anything, unfortunately. And this is frustrating because, as you can probably attest, it gets very expensive to use all these third-party tools all the time for everything. And it seems like, you know, it's like 3 or 4 different tools just to be able to get a clear picture of what's going on, you know, throughout the funnel. It would be nice if Apple would provide some more deeper analytics.
I'd completely agree with you, Ryan, on this, and I think that it's top of every app marketer wish list to have this integrated A/B testing for screenshots on the iOS as well. So right now everyone is really relying either on the third-party tools, which are on top of all also are quite like relatively expensive, or it would be the results that, at least for the concepts of new designs, that would be the results for the Google Play, from the Google Play for tests, or that would be like creative assets testing via creative sets in Apple Search Ads. And none of those, I would say that none of those methods is like 100% bulletproof in that regard. But I would also tend to agree that it may be not top of the most valuable features from the Apple standpoint. So it's super valuable for advertisers and brands, but not from the Apple standpoint. However, we would also really, really wish for it, and also for some better insights. I would add some better insights into cannibalization. So like paid versus organic integration of Apple search ads, keywords. So more transparency in that regard. That'd be on my list as well.
Yeah, I think also that if they would have, if they could start to have a testing tool, would be great, especially for small developers, which don't have the resources, the money to add all these third-party tools, or to even use creative testing on Apple search ads. All these small developers don't have the budget to do that. But at least it seems like Apple is moving towards the small developers recently, when they were cutting down the cost for them to 15%, I think. So that's a nice move, and maybe they also add a free tool for those, or for everyone actually.
No, I completely agree with everyone here. I mean, like, I don't know if you've had a circumstance before wherein you tested something on Google and applied it on iTunes, and it's completely the opposite of what has happened. At least I have had that experiences before. So definitely a testing tool in Apple would be on top of my list as well. Yeah. And also I think like a couple of you mentioned it, and this might be a good segue into Apple search ads. Like, we currently don't really have a differentiation in iTunes Connect. Like, everyone knows here that it just comes to the Apple Store search traffic. So that's one of my wish list, obviously. But just like, let's speak a little bit about Apple search ads, because even though this is not really organic, this is still kind of search. It's still App Store marketing. So I think for Apple search ads, yeah, one thing would be that keyword breakdown on the iTunes Connect, and also really being able to follow users who get there. But one thing that I'm very, very wishful for is a placement overview as well. I think I have seen some chatter on Twitter that there are some placement overviews coming. So I don't know if you have already seen some of it, but maybe Apple is trying out new placements for search. So I think like I've seen one from Apple News, which is really cool. So these are things that are, let's say, coming in 2021, hopefully. And if anyone here on the audience, by the way, has some insights there, please feel free to put it in the questions or comment section of this agenda, because we are very, very curious to know as well if you have seen some Apple testings in the background. At least we have seen that there's something on Apple News, and we are very curious to know if anyone here as well has found something. But in terms of Apple search ads, and I'm going to look at the questions here. I'm really looking forward. I hope someone has some insights. Kwok, like, I think you've been running a lot of Apple search ads, and would you have anything that you would wish for to become better in ASA in 2021, aside from the new breakdown?
Yeah, sure. I think one thing that would improve the overall experience for developers would be that they could separate the graphical assets from organic and Apple search ads, that teams can work individually from each other. So currently, our search SEA team has to come to me if they want to have some changes done, or to test the graphical asset. And also for titles and subtitles, it's always the same as the organic one. So I think it would be really great if they could split it and individually change it in Apple search ads themselves. And also on top, maybe even per ad group own title, subtitle, and different screenshots. So this would improve not only our experience, but also make it more relevant for the users. And then people would click more, and Apple would also get some more money. So everyone would be happy, I think.
Yeah, I think that you always have to look at whatever, when you're trying to guess what Apple's move is going to be, at the base of it, at the root of everything, it has to be revenue driven, everything that they do. So it's not because they're nice and they want to help developers have a better business. It's because they know themselves. And I think that where we're going to see advances is going to be in the ad platform. They know that users that are searching monetize better. They're and users that show intent. So they're going to do everything that they can to bring more users to the store and then keep them on the store page. And I've also heard that there's going to be placements in maps and news and stocks. And I think the top hit section of the Safari mobile browser. And I even heard that there would be ads via push notifications. I know this is getting a little bit far out there, but you know, these are all very interesting. And I think Apple is heading the way of being able to control that whole ad inventory. And the one thing that I would like to see, and this is really a stretch, but I would like to see pages which have more metadata, or at least the metadata to be externally indexed. And by doing that, I think it would help to promote the app where there's more users on the web and be able to drive them to the page through deep linking and have more users on the page actually experience the app, learn more about the app, and then hopefully download the app. You know, that would be a couple of my, I guess, wishes.
Oh yeah, that'd be exciting to have other placements in Apple search ads. That's probably, if that's not going to be search placements, then maybe they're going to rebrand their name even. So not only the search ads, but beyond search ads. So that'd be exciting to have those new placements. And I would also say that there is a very strong reason and a lot of rumors in the industry, strong reason to believe, and a lot of rumors in the industry that Apple is going further with monetization there, and those placements like news, stocks, they would be available as well. So I would really feel safe to place a bet for 2021 sometime. However, I really hope that they will not go the UAC way and they will keep the placements transparent. And that be like not just like buy in any inventory and is going to optimize towards and the system and the machine learning is going to optimize towards installs, but there would be transparency at least in the search ads interface. Yes, that's my prediction for 2021.
Got it. I mean, like, when you mentioned that, a tiny heart attack just kind of got to me. That what if they just like put all placements as well? I'm like, please, no, not again. It's like 2000. When was that? When UAC just kind of bundled it together? I think it was in 2000.
I think it's 17.
Yeah, because I remember having a bigger, tinier heart attack when that happened. I was like, oh God, where does it go? But I completely agree here that actually Victoria on the chat mentioned that their Apple News, Apple Stocks as new placements, maybe. There's no proof yet, but I think like Apple is smart. I think this will come. I think this is coming quite soon because I've seen a couple of screenshots on Twitter of people saying that they're actually testing it. So this might come rather sooner than later. But yeah, but my wish list then, when you really think about it, is really, as you mentioned, Alina, that please like keep it as transparent as it is. Another audience actually also wrote a little bit earlier on about iTunes Connect, like to have that clear definition of how Apple is attributing traffic to app versus web referrers, and match better their ASA metrics with the search traffic source. So all of these things, I think, if I'm going to summarize it here right now, what we want from Apple basically is transparency, right? Like to make it more visible, to make us have control on what we really do. And yeah, if there's any Apple reps here listening, I hope like we have a wish list for you now, for both the iTunes Connect and Apple Search Ads. And yeah, actually, if anybody else here has any wish list, I encourage you to put it in the questions here because maybe we have some thoughts on what we think it will happen there next. But actually, now we've spent some time on Apple, on iTunes and Apple Search Ads, but I wanted to talk about, of course, Google Play Console. So okay, the first thing that really caught my mind when I was thinking about, okay, wish list for 2021. I don't know, this is really stupid of me to say probably, but I just want to get used to the new console. It has already been like, let's say, rolled out for a month or 2 months maybe. And I'm still like missing the buttons. Where is this? How can I export this report? I cannot find this anywhere and stuff. Do you guys feel the same? Do you have any thoughts on this change that has happened? And yeah, just first of all, the new console. What is your feedback on it? Do you have any wish list to Google already for the new console?
Well, I will have to say that if it wasn't for people like Nadir Garouche, who came up with a way to actually attribute Play Store organic new installs, I don't, maybe somebody else would have come up with it. But the fact that somebody actually has to come up with that, and Google's not even saying that is I guess it's good that we have people like that within the community, but it's also disappointing that Google's doesn't do a better job.
But maybe can you give the audience more idea what you mean exactly, in case they haven't heard what that is about?
So Nadir did a great post on Medium, just on the new Google Play console, and if I can kind of summarize it, he is using API data, and basically he's taking search and explore new user installs and then subtracting Google Ads Play Browse installs to come up with the Play Store organic new installs.
We put in the link in the chat section for the audience who are not aware of this, because this is a really good tip here. Thanks, Ryan. Because you're absolutely right. It is quite hard to navigate it, and yeah, it's good that we have app marketers such as ourselves that are really trying to make it easier for us as well. That's amazing. But speaking about Google, like, I think another thing that I would also want to have on Google is better A/B testing possibilities. Elena, do you have any thoughts on how the A/B testing can be done in also in a more deeper way, and or also like in general? Do you have any thoughts on what you would want as an app marketer to be better on console?
Oh, is it me? Yes, well, I would say that the same thing as with Apple, and it's also the same thing that we probably are not going to get, is more transparency and this insights into like where actually, while A/B testing, like would the traffic be coming more from the paid traffic? Would it be coming more from organic traffic? Like what would be the intent of those users? And the split and synergy between paid and organic. So for us, I can say, like, from the Spark Networks perspective, that would be one of the focus points for 2021 as well, to understand whether with some like native built-in tools or some API integrations, like what's the synergy between paid and organic there, and how actually would the all of our brands sit in there, because basically we're all dating, and for dating the semantics is not like the keywords is not that broad, so it's all like dating apps, and we really would like to dig into how different brands work together there, and how like the paid and organic efforts are being combined also cross-brand in such a, I would say, a narrow field. Yeah.
I just think one simple thing would make me so happy. If you could adjust the confidence interval, that would be a huge win in my book. I'm having so much trouble with apps that have a lot of brand recognition, and it's really hard to understand whether the brand is how it's affecting the test results, whether users are going to download the app regardless of what the creative looks like. So that's a little bit frustrating right now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And like, actually, there's also I'm not sure when it was launched, but I think um, there's the custom store listings. And I think, Kwok, maybe you have some thoughts here. Like, it has been launched, but there's not much improvements. But so there's a lot of things that, let's say, Google gives us the possibility to do something, but there's still just like these little nicks and knacks that we want to be improved a little bit further. I was muted, but I completely laughed when you mentioned the confidence interval, Ryan, because you're right. Because like every time I'm testing for any company that I work for, I'm always just like, okay, anything below 10%, don't even look at it. Just like anything 10% higher, because I want to be a little bit more certain. So like just to making that small thing that it's adjustable, I think that will be a really good thing to add for 2021. Google, if you're listening, I mean, you are always listening everywhere, so I'm sure that they're capturing this somehow. Yeah, sorry. So, Kwok, maybe do you have any other thoughts, like what we could add for Google Play Console?
Yeah. So yeah, custom store listings was added 1.5 years ago, I think, during or after Google I/O. And yeah, it was set even there. I think that you were supposed to be able to have different store listings per user state. So depending if the user's current user, so has the app installed, is a new user, or used to have the app, so has had the app but uninstalled it. You should have been able to have different store listings, different messaging, which would be very helpful, because new users need a different message, so they need more explanation about what the app is about. Current users would probably want to get the latest updates and the newest features or anything like that. And former users, I think you could really do some vouchers or some discounts for them, so that you win them back. So unfortunately, they didn't do anything on it. Currently, it's just for country-wise, for regional, and also for I think pre-releases or something like that. So yeah, currently it's very minimal, and they didn't put too much work in it, which is unfortunate, I think.
Yeah, and like, okay, so for Google, we have again another huge list of what we would want. And just to wrap it up, because I think we're almost short on time. For anyone who has any other questions or thoughts on what you want to have, please feel free to put it in the chat, and we'd love to discuss that in the Q&A that's going to be coming soon. But actually, I will end somehow this discussion with one final question to you, Ryan, Lena, and Kwok. We've mentioned a lot of things that we want to have on Apple Search Ads, on Google Play Console. And we know that even though they are listening, maybe that's not going to be doable. But if there's one thing that you really want to have in 2021 from all of the thoughts that we had, I know that it's obviously, I think everyone's thinking, yes, it's the vaccine for COVID. Please have it, because I want to be in Apps Promotion Summit next year, and not in my virtual background, but in general. After that wish, what would be your wish as an app marketer that you would like to really get implemented? And I'm asking this actually because, like, I think as an industry, we are huge. And if enough advertisers, if enough marketers are really going to talk about it with their representatives and so on and so forth, I think the transparency of what we want as a community could really work, right? Because like in general, these companies, these businesses have to listen to us. So if there was one thing, one moonshot that you would like that Apple, Google, or Apple Search Ads want to implement, what would it be?
Well, I'll just tell you that I think 2 years ago, there was a group of Google representatives at APS London, and they were going around with this big book, and they were writing in the book as they asked questions to all people. And it spread around the whole conference, and everybody kind of converged on them and was like, what about this? And what about that? And the guy finally said, look, if we tell you that blue icons convert better than any other color, everyone's going to change their icons to blue. So we're only going to be able to give you so much data, because we don't want to influence the store creative or look or feel in any kind of way that would cause everybody to do the same thing. So Yeah, I think there's just so many things it would be hard to narrow it down to one. So it's nice to see that Google is trying to do better. I think they're taking bigger steps forward versus Apple. So as long as they just continue to do that, I would be happy.
I'm quite sure that my mind next year would be occupied with the paid organic synergies. So any insights, any transparency into that would be definitely top of my list.
Yeah, and for me, it's more transparent and more specific data, whether it be on keywords or on the devices that the users use, or if they use dark mode or light or normal mode, because if you could differentiate these, it would be also very helpful, because one color works better on dark mode than the other, and if you could split these two, it would be great. But wishes, right?
I'm optimistic person. I think that at least there's some wishes that will come true for 2021. And Alina in our audience wrote A/B testing on Apple, my biggest wish. I think, yeah, I have at least a million wishes, and I think that's also one of my tops. But yeah, with that, actually, I'm going to open the floor for questions from the audience. Let's see, I'm trying to open. All right. I don't see any questions coming in. Maybe James, could you help us out here? Ooh, now I have questions. So somebody asked, what is one tip for someone starting in ASO? What would you give us as an advice to someone who's starting in ASO?
I would say don't overthink. It's tempting to use ASO tools and try and overanalyze all your keywords, but remember that you can only have a maximum of 20 keywords in English, usually, on average. So break it down to the most simple. Your features are your features. Think like a user. How would they find your app? So you have brand keywords, those will never change. Use the maybe 5 keywords to experiment with and see how many phrases you can build, because the strength of a keyword is dependent upon the number of phrases it builds, not necessarily the single keyword alone. So I understand that keyword optimization doesn't have as big of impact as it's had previously, but I think that it's a good place to start when you understand not to overthink everything and try and think, put yourself in the user's shoes.
And no, go.
Sorry. Yes, exactly like Ryan was saying. I would say understand the user and also build good relationships. If we are already lucky to work in with product managers and tech people, understand the product and build nice relationships with them.
And I would recommend to join the ASO Stack Slack because it's very helpful. The people that are very helpful, and also you are always up to date about the new features and all the news upcoming. So if you are there actively or even just reading, you are very much on the better side of ASO.
We got a follow-up question. So what does your ASO tools stack look like? Maybe we can reverse it. Kwok, how does your ASO tools stack look like?
My tools, AppTweak and App Annie, quite satisfied with it, especially AppTweak. They always add new features in there. I can't even catch up with all these new features to use them on a daily or weekly basis. But yeah, and App Annie I think is really good for competitor research. The data they have there is very global and very useful.
We're also using AppTweak and Sensor Tower as well, and of course all the native tools like the iTunes Connect and Console and the Apple Search Ads interface if we're talking about paid.
I think the tools that I probably use the most are Google Experiments and Apple Search Ads for testing creative and testing keywords. But I also use a whole bunch of tools from the usual AppTweak, AppRadar, AppFollow. There's a lot of them. Mobile Action. I think each of them have their own features. One of them always has a feature that stands out. So I like to use a couple and check the data, but again, I try not to overthink it, and I try to focus more on the areas where I know are going to have the biggest impact, which is conversion optimization. So oftentimes I use the native tools, but it is nice that we have these third-party tools as well.
Great, thanks everyone. With that, I think we can close the session.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Christine. That was great. Thanks, everyone. Great to have you with us on the virtual stage. Sorry we can't go and get a coffee now or lunch, but hopefully next year. And yeah, thanks for joining us. It was a great chat and good to sort of mix it up a bit. And yeah, thanks so much for taking part.
Thank you. And I'm optimistic. I think I will see you all next year. December 2, right, James? December 2,
I hope
2021.
so, yeah. December the 2nd, get in your diary. Great. All right, thanks, everyone. We were talking Apple Search Ads next. So yeah, Apple Search Ads is coming up now. And yeah, that's and then what else are we talking about? We've got Apple Search Ads, we've got CRO, we've got reviews, going deep into reviews. So yeah, I hope you can yeah, grab a coffee and keep going. There's plenty more ASO fun to come. And thanks to all our wonderful panelists.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.